We are going to focus today on a flow that's going to kind of reset through your legs and your hips. I've been doing more running than I'm used to and during all this social distancing, and I'm feeling it in my legs. So this is also really good for sitting a lot to just kind of work through our legs. So either way, I want you to start off today in a pose that you're going to hate me for, but I promise you it's good for you. You're going to come to tuck your toes underneath, and then you're going to, you might be quite forward. It depends on how tight your feet are. So I'm going to try to walk my way back up. I might take this slow if I've not done this before, and just do your best to try to be with this. So what we're doing here is we're trying to stretch the fascia, the connective tissue on the bottom of our feet. And we're doing that because if we're going to focus on our legs and our hips, we have to pay attention to our feet as well. And so what I'm thinking about is trying to make sure that all my toes are tucked under. Sometimes my pinky toes want to come out. I'll just kind of manually help them in if that's possible in my body. I won't force anything, just help kind of guide your toes so that they're all tucked under. So do your best to breathe. In a little bit, we will find a more calming and soothing pose, but for now, close your eyes. And while you're managing through intensity, stick with me. I promise this whole flow won't be like this, but you will find that this is going to bring a nice, awesome relief in your body. Just a couple more breaths, nice and deep, all the way into the belly. Good, 2 more. And last one. Awesome, good. Now just slowly reach forward. Ooh, and tuck those toes. And then I like to tap the tops of my feet. Feels really good to kind of just reset them after that intensity. And just take a second to sit back on your heels. Take your hands right on top of your thighs. Close your eyes. Breathe. Do your best to keep your shoulders drawn down. So sometimes I like to take some shoulder rolls just to kind of guide my shoulders down. Oftentimes I've got my shoulders lifted and I don't even realize it. It'll happen with stress and just kind of just our tendencies that we have relied upon. We're trying to break those habits and find a little bit more space between our shoulders and our ears. So draw the crown of your head up a little bit higher as you let your shoulders melt down. Nice, smooth breath. Good, now from here, I'm going to gently just kind of lean back, and as I do that, I'm going to kind of lift my knee up a little bit to get a stretch in the front of my legs and the front of my foot. And depending on your flexibility, you might help guide that knee up a little bit more, just really paying attention to what your body is telling you, and if it's too much, come out. And I'm going to switch to the other side, taking my right hand back and then my left hand to my left knee. And like I said before, you can just take it up just slightly, just leaning back without using your left hand to help guide, or you can draw back a little bit more, getting a little deeper stretch. Nice breath. And you might hear my kids in the background. That is the reality here. We are staying at home together, and right now I've got them watching a movie. They've earned that today. And the sun is coming out, so I see that it just got brighter in the video. Just because the sun is coming out after a brief rain shower, so kind of a beautiful day. Good, I'm going to release the left knee down. And then from there, I'm going to just come into child's pose. So I'm going to take my knees wide, big toes come together, and sit my hips back, and then lengthen my arms forward. Crown of the head comes down to the mat, and breathe. This is great compression on the hips. It also is a nice release in the low back. And it allows you some time for stillness so that you can cultivate a strong, calming breath and make your way to find yourself more present. breath here. And then we'll inhale and draw ourselves up into tabletop position. And here, we're going to just find some movement in the spine, just drawing ourselves from cat pose into cow pose. And as we move, letting that movement begin at the base of the spine and then working its way up all the way to the cervical spine. Breathing in as you gaze forward and rolling the shoulders back, letting the chest be open. Breathing out as you press your hands down into the mat and round through the spine and tuck the chin to the chest. Good, one more full round here. And then exhale, round it out. Good, now let's find balance here. Nice neutral spine. Lengthen the crown of your head forward and tailbone back. And then draw your right arm up and forward. And then let's take the left foot back. You can keep the foot down if you're struggling with balance today, but otherwise lifting it up and lengthening. And then from there, let's draw knee and elbow toward each other. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, pull in. Good, one more time. Inhale, reach. Exhale, pull in and squeeze. And then inhale, lengthen. Now stay lifted, and what we're going to do is just bend our back knee, reach our right arm back, capture your foot. And then once you've captured your foot, finding tabletop dancers. So I like to start that where we're activating our core with those knee to noses, and that's going to help you find more strength so that you can be balanced in this pose. If you're struggling and falling out of this one, you can go next to a wall, and that's just fine. I think about drawing my back knee, the one that's on the mat, and my front hand toward each other, and that helps me find a little bit more strength. So I'm drawing to the midline here. Good, one more breath. So nice stretch in the quad here. And then release. Good, and then from here, let's just do one cat and cow. So we're gonna round for cat, and draw open for cow, and then neutral. And then from here, left hand, right foot, reaching back, finding length in the body. Inhale, lengthen further, and exhale, pull in and squeeze. Inhale, lengthen and reach. Exhale, engage. Good, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, draw in. Good, let's reach and hold. And then bend your back knee, reach your left hand back, capture your foot, and then kick your foot into your hand. Good. And finding a nice breath. So while my purpose here for this pose is to help you access a stretch in your quadriceps. You're also getting some benefit in the shoulder and the chest. By that top arm that's holding onto the foot is being pulled, and you're kicking into the hand, so you can feel that little tug and get a nice little opening there. One more breath. And then let's reach and release down. Good, one more round, cat and cow. Finding cat, round and curl. And then inhale for cow. Good. Now from here, we're just gonna come down to the belly. And then from here, I'm gonna have you lengthen your left leg down, bend your right knee, and work toward reaching around to capture your foot. This may not be accessible to you. You can take, in yoga we use a yoga strap, but you can use a belt or a scarf to help you kind of capture your foot. And then you're just drawing in for a nice little stretch in the quad. And I've got my left cheek on the mat, because that feels good to me to kind of just feel nice and grounded. We'll go one more breath here. And then releasing. And lift your chin toward the mat and gaze to the other side. And then work toward capturing the left foot. Pulling in. Just find a nice soothing breath. Good, and then release that foot down. Good, chin back to the mat. Take your hands down underneath your shoulders. Now you're welcome to press yourself up into child's pose. So nice and calming. Otherwise, we're going to draw ourselves up into high plank. So you'll top your toes, and then elbows are pulled in nice and tight toward our side body. And then we're going to press up. And I might do that on my knees or my toes. So either is an option. Then lengthen the crown of your head forward, shoulders back, heels back, tailbone back. Feel nice and strong in the core. One more breath in. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Now this pose is so great for the backs of the legs. So we're just going to kind of try to settle in here, and don't be afraid to ease into this pose. Bend your knees as much as you need to, and then work on lengthening down as you feel your body easing up, or maybe stay there. And then I like to find some movement. So bending one knee at a time, shaking my hips side to side. Oh, that feels nice. Oh, that feels really good. Just stretching out my calves, stretching out my hamstrings. And I'm gonna, from here, I can stay right here. That might be enough. If I want more, I'm gonna take my right foot and cross it over my left ankle. And then that just adds a nice little pressure. It intensifies the stretch in my calf. I may not want that, and then I'll choose to just stay in down dog. But if you're wanting a little bit more of a stretch, that is a nice way to kind of find that. So then you're going to release there, and then cross the opposite foot over. Nice, smooth breath. I can also hear neighbors doing landscaping right now. So now that the sun is out, everybody else is outside too. You're just going to hear all the sounds that I hear all day around me. Good, and then from here, if you've crossed your ankle, release it. And then let's hinge forward back into high plank. Now this is for people who want more intensity in their practice. You do not have to do this. You can stay in down dog. But if you'd like to kind of strengthen a little bit too as we're moving through these poses for our legs and hips, feel free. One more breath. Downward facing dog. Good, now walk your feet forward. Come to the top of your mat. Find yourself in ragdoll. So feet are about hip width distance. They can be wider if you'd like. Just in a nice base so you don't have to do much work here. And then you're gonna let your torso melt down. I like to grab opposite elbow and just hang. So again, feel free to bend the knees as much as you need to. Maybe you ease into it. And getting the backs of the legs. I sway sometimes. I like that, how it feels in my body, and it helps me surrender more to gravity and be heavier through my torso and my head. One more breath here. And then release your hands down to the mat until your feet to touch. And then inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, Urdhva rise up. Soften the shoulders down, reach the fingertips high. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, melt back down. Inhale, root down through their feet and rise all the way up. Urdhva. Good, now from here, take your right hand down towards your right hip, lengthen up through the left arm, and then just bend over to the right. So we're just getting a side body stretch. This is good for your hips. And just taking some time to ease into it, letting those fingertips just kind of melt down. You're working on keeping that top shoulder from rolling forward. You want to keep it level, in line with the opposite shoulder. And then inhale, come back up, and then over to the left. And as you do that, you can intensify by pressing a little bit more firmly into that right foot. So the opposite side of which you're leaning towards. And that can feel nice to just get a little bit of that tissue to kind of just stretch out a little bit. One more breath. And then rise up. And exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Good, inhale, halfway lift. On the exhalation, let's step the left leg back so your right foot is forward. I'm gonna just kind of crawl my foot up a little bit more forward here. And then I'm gonna just move my hips up, forward and back, side to side, and when I'm ready, my back knee I'll drop down, release the top of my feet down, or you can keep your toes tucked. And then I'll rise up into a low crescent lunge. Good, and take a nice deep breath in. Whoop, losing my balance. So to find better balance, draw to the midline. So that back knee draws forward, the front heel draws back. Soften the shoulders down. Deep breath in and out. One more in and out. Okay, now take your right hand down toward your right hip and reach the fingers toward the ground and lean toward that side of the body. Good, inhale, center. And exhale, half honeymoon, half split. So I'm just gonna straighten my front leg, flex my toes, and hug my right hip back. As you do this, the way you're gonna feel this stretch is instead of just kind of hanging out, it's pulling the right hip back so it's level with the left. And whoo, does that tighten? You'll feel a little bit more of a tug on the hamstring. If it's not enough, take your heel slightly farther away. If it's too much, take your heel slightly forward. Good, one more breath here. And then rebend the front knee. Take your hands on the inside of your front foot. And then find 45-degree angle in that front foot for runner's lunge. Now, where we're feeling this is the left, in the front of the left hip, in that hip flexor area. We're gonna just kind of lean into it so you feel that nice stretch. And you can stay right here, or you might bend the back knee and capture the foot and lean from there. And my hamstring is locking up there, so I'm gonna actually let that go. And sometimes that happens to me, and then I'll release it and then find the next time, yeah, I'm good now. So just read your body again, you make adjustments as you need. So I'm getting that benefit of both the front of the hip and the quadriceps, getting a nice stretch there. You can always come down to your forearms if you'd like as well. I'm going to stay lifted on my hands today. One more breath. And then soften that foot down. And then from there, just lean into the stretch without the knee bent, without the back knee bent. And maybe again, coming down to the forearms, maybe staying lifted. One more nice big breath here. Let it go. Melt that hip toward the floor. One more breath in and out. And then if I'm down on my forearms, I'll come up to my palms. I'm going to toe heel my foot back toward the center, and then I'm going to come back into that half honeymoon, half split stretch. So I'm just going to shift my hips back, flex my toes, and then from here, wave your foot side to side. So think about that movement starting right in the hip. The knee tracks over the toes. Everything goes in the same direction. It's not just my foot moving. Good, one more time. And then point the toes up. And then take your hands on the left side of the foot. So toward the inside of the foot, and I'm just gonna kind of lean down until I feel the stretch that I want. I'm just targeting a slightly different spot on my hamstring by doing this. Breathe into that space. Good, one more breath. And then walk your hands over to the outside of the foot. So my toes are still facing up toward the ceiling, and I'm pulling them back toward my shin. And hold here for a couple breaths. One more breath. And then draw back to center. Good, and then from there, rebend that front knee. And then we're gonna just tuck the back toes, step back, high plank, hold, nice deep breath in, deep breath out. Two more, inhale, and exhale. One more time, big breath in, and out. Good, three-legged dog, lift that right leg up high. We'll switch to the left side a little bit here. And then draw your knee towards your chest, then your nose, and then step it through for a low lunge. And then we're just gonna shift the hands over to the left, finding our way into Prasarita. So
As I shift, I'm pointing my toes in the same direction toward the side of my mat. And then I'm going to bow down. I'm targeting here, inner thighs. Getting a nice stretch there. And the way I'm really trying to achieve that is by coming more onto the balls of my feet and then allowing this energy to spiral open. So inner thighs drawing out to the sides. And then let's come down here, bending the right knee, keeping the left leg straight. I'm really getting into the inner thigh and the left leg. For you, your heel may stay down or it may lift. Mine's lifted on my right leg. That's okay. I'm going to activate my left toes, flexing them toward my left shin. And then lift the hips up and then come toward the other side. And same thing, I'm going to flex my right toes this time. I'm just using my hands on the ground to really ease into this stretch, just being able to hold it a little bit longer. One more nice big breath here. And then rebend that leg, or straighten that leg rather. Find yourself in Prostrata just for a moment, so bow down. And then halfway lift, nice flat back, long spine. Spin your torso over to the front of your mat. And then from there, three-legged dog. Bend your knee, open your hip. Maybe you kick a few times, so draw your heel toward your glute. And then straightening your leg. Good, one more breath. And then release that foot down. Okay, deep breath in. And out. Two more, inhale. And exhale. Last one, breathe in. And out. Good, walk forward, come to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, breathe in. Breathe out and fold. Good, now let's rise up, down through your feet. Draw nice and tall. And then from here, we're gonna move into a side bend again, and this time, capture your left wrist. So you're hanging onto the left wrist with the right hand, and I don't think you're gonna be able to see me with my camera angle today, but basically I'm holding onto my left wrist with my right hand, and I'm letting that kind of hang over nice and heavy, and so the weight of my right hand pulling just slightly on the left wrist is helping me get deeper into that side bend as I press more into my left foot. Good, and then rise up and switch up. So left hand now hanging onto the right wrist. Side bend over to the left. Breathe. Now find your center here. We're feeling inner thighs drawing back, little belly pulling in, back. Finding yourself nice and centered so you can really focus in on that side bend. Inhale back to center. And exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, step the right foot back. So the left foot is now forward. And then find a little movement. And from there, when you're ready, back knee comes down, knee lift up, find a little crescent lunge. Good. Just take a moment here, breathe. Find yourself drawing tall, the crown of the head reaching up as you activate through your core, your low back, your abdominal muscles. One more breath. And then take the left hand down by the left hip and then lean over to the left. My fingers are nice and active. I'm really reaching them apart and reaching them down and for my left hand and up toward the wall with my right hand. One more breath. And then inhale back to center. Good, now take your hands on the inside of your front foot, toe heel your foot 45 degrees. Find your runner's lunge, and we're going to stay lifted on the palms for now. And then kind of lean into it. So you want the pelvis to be super heavy. You're letting it drop. And sometimes in order to do that, because I want you to keep a nice ankle here in the left leg with the knee stacked or behind the ankle. So if you've leaned so much that now the knee is passing the ankle, walk that left foot out a little bit more. Good, now from here I'm going to take my left hand I'm going to lean back so I can capture my foot, and then from there I'm going to reach forward. I'm going to come back where I let my pelvis be heavy as I allow my quadriceps to get a nice stretch here too. Now my shoulder, I could totally collapse here, but instead I'm going to pull back. I'm going to press down into the mat with the right hand, and I'm going to pull the shoulder back. So we don't want to offload tension, because for me, this is pretty intense. So my quadriceps are really tight. And so it's easy for me to kind of offload the tension. So I'm going to press more into the right hand, so I try to avoid doing that. One more breath. And then soften the grips. Release that foot down. Take your hands both on the inside of the front foot, and then maybe you stay lifted, maybe you drop down to your forearms. And again, thinking about, so you probably feel this in the left hip too, but really want you to think about letting the pelvis be heavy so that you can get a nice stretch in the hip flexors on the right leg. And breathe into it. Nice smooth breath. Good, couple more. And then rise to your palms and take your foot, bring it back toward the center, and then let's shift the hips back, find ourselves into our half Honeymoon. I don't think we did this already yet on this side, so I'm going to hug the left hip back a little bit more, and we're just going to linger in the center for a second. And breathe into the back of the leg. Really, you're targeting through your hamstring. And again, it's this one, I remember when I first was doing yoga, I just didn't understand how people were finding stretches in it, but that's because I wasn't doing it right. Like, I was just kind of leaning back, and you want your right hip stacked over your right knee, your heels kind of digging into the ground, and then your toes are flexed. From there, hug that left hip back so it's level with the right, and then adjust the positioning of your heel based on if that's giving you the stretch you want. Good, one more breath there, and then we'll start to move in this one. Good, and then we'll take our hands over to the right, and then you can stay pretty upright. Maybe you kind of bow a little bit. I'm still hugging that left hip back though. I'm finding that breath that's directed and intentional toward my hamstrings. And then I'm going to come over here toward the left, so the outside of the leg. Same thing, pause. Nice, smooth and steady breath. Good, one more. And take your hands back to center. And then rebend the foot. And from there, take your hands on the inside of the front foot, tuck your back toes, three-legged dog, lift the left leg up high. And maybe kick, extend and bend. Drawing the heel toward the glute, extending it out. And then from there, leveling up the hips and drawing the knee toward the chest, and then the chin, and stepping through a low lunge. Now I'm going to spin my torso over to the right as I shift so my toes both face the side of my mat. And then melting down. Good, so I'm letting my torso be heavy, and I'm leaning toward the balls of my feet. You can feel that stretching in the hamstrings, a little bit in the inner thighs too. And then one more breath. And then bend your left knee and draw yourself over here. So we're just coming in the same stretch on this side. Gosh, that feels good. My body definitely needs this one today. I hope you're feeling good too, and that this is giving you a little bit of what you might need in your body. Let's take one more breath here, breathing right into the inner thigh and the right leg. It's helpful, go ahead and switch to the other side too.
use your breath, again, intentionally to send it toward any tightness. And what you imagine doing when you do that is inhaling toward that area and exhaling and just letting any of the tension go. It's amazing what that visualization and that simple breathing can do for you. Good, one more breath. And then we'll come back to center. Make your way into Prasarita one last time here. And then halfway lift. Spin your torso over to the top of the mat. Toe comes with you. And then lift the left leg high, three-legged dog. Maybe a little movement. And release that foot down. Good, and then if you'd like, in this last down dog, maybe take your right foot over the left heel again, just like we did before. Get one last nice, awesome stretch in the calves. And then switch up to the other side. And then back to neutral. Good, take a deep breath in. Let it go. One more time, big breath in. And out. Good, now reach your right leg up high. Take your right knee towards your right wrist for Pigeon Pose. And then you're going to come onto the top of the back foot and allow the hips to be super heavy. So stay upright for a little bit here and really try to sink down through those hips. And I've got my heel pretty close to my groin to help me kind of find not such an intense pose. I could take my shin more parallel and that would be more intense. But that's not what I'm looking for today. So you do you, find what works for you. This for me is plenty. If you'd like, you can find a little bit more of a quad stretch here too by bending the back foot and then capturing that foot. Now some people, my quads are super tight, so this isn't going to happen for me today, but some people can kind of walk themselves so that they're really kind of turned back and then walk their hand down their leg so that the foot comes onto the inside of the elbow. Actually, that's not bad at all. Looks like this practice has helped my quads loosen up. So you can absolutely kind of engage with that. If you can get rid of this quad stretch if you don't want it. I know that my body needs it, so I'm going to hold this for a little bit. But otherwise, you're in regular half pigeon without the bent knee. Breathe. Let the hips continue to be heavy. One more breath. And then slowly soften. Certainly hold longer if you'd like. But I'm going to soften so that now I can come into my sleeping half pigeon. So I'm just going to drop down. This feels good for some people and it's not great for others, so you can stay lifted if you'd like. Sometimes it's nice to take two fists and just plant your forehead there. That can be a nice pressure point. Otherwise, I like to stack my hands and let my forehead rest there. It can be tempting to lean to one side or the other. Try to stay pretty neutral with your pelvis so that you're pretty centered here. And then breathe into your hip. We're getting into the outer hip here. One more breath. And then making your way out nice and slow. So if you're down onto your forearms, come up to your palms, tuck your toes, and then eventually lifting up into your three-legged dog. You can always come to tabletop if you prefer. I'm going to do the same thing here where I'm kicking my foot out, and then I'm going to kind of lift my inner thigh up as I bend my right knee, work on keeping my shoulders level. And then eventually I'm going to take my right foot back down to the ground and go to the other side. Left leg comes up. And then exhale, left knee, left wrist. And then I'm going to kind of slide my way down so that I can let my hips be heavy. My back toes are pointing straight back. Sometimes there's a tendency to sickle that foot in or out. Try to keep it straight back so that your knee is in alignment, your ankle's in alignment, your hips in alignment. And then from there, sinking down, finding that sense there, maybe coming to a little bit more of a lifted position with my torso where I take my hands onto my leg and then draw the crown of the head up. And then from there, stay there or bend
that back knee, capture the foot, and you might notice that you're you can be very uneven here. So one side might be a lot tighter. What that tells you is that maybe you hold that side longer. Got a cramp in my foot here, so that sometimes can happen too. Come out if that happens and go back in if you'd like. But yeah, I think what I do is if I feel like, I'll notice in these poses that one side is much tighter. And then when I'm not following, I mean, you can pause. So you can always choose to hold one side a little bit longer. And that way, you're still getting the stretch on both sides, but you are taking more time on the side that needs it a little bit longer. Because the reality is the way we move in our bodies all day is not balanced. And so, you know, having an even hold on each side isn't necessarily the right thing for everybody. One more breath. I'm going to start to loosen that quad stretch out and relax that foot down, and then again stay lifted if you choose, or drop down to your forearms if you'd like. I think about here not allowing my right hip to come down, but instead feeling more balanced so that my left hip is in alignment with my right hip. So for my body, that means that there's a lot of space between the mat and my hips. If you have really flexible hips, you might be much more closer to the ground. But wherever you are, it's not about getting to a certain place. It's about listening to your body and finding the right stretch in your body, and being willing to allow that sensation, and listening if it goes beyond your edge, where you start to feel any kind of pain, you come out. But we're just trying to allow the tissues in our body to kind of soften and relax. Good, one more breath here. And then draw yourself up to your palms when you're ready. Tuck your back toes, and then lift your left leg up high, three-legged dog. And whatever movement feels good to you here. I'm again going to kind of kick my glutes with my heel, and then open up my hip so that my left knee is drawing up high, and I'm keeping balance between my shoulders. One more breath. And I'm drawing it down. Good. Take a nice deep breath in. And out. I'm going to press more into my palms, lifting my hips up a little higher. Just trying to get that last little bit of stretch out my calves. I wasn't planning to do one more here, but it feels so good today. So hold for a second. One more breath. And then drop your knees down to the mat, cross your ankles, and come to a seat. I'm going to turn to face you for this one. We're going to start off in Paschimottanasana. So both legs are together, your toes are flexed and active, drawing back towards your shins. And then I like to shake side to side, just kind of move the excess muscle from underneath my glutes. So I'm really rooted down. And then from there, arms lift. Exhale for nice flat back, lean forward. And then maybe you round from there and reach towards your toes. And breathe down the back of the legs, send the breath there. One more. And then rise back up. And then let's draw our legs open into a straddle pose, and we're going to sit nice and tall. I'm just going to stay nice and long in my spine. My toes, flex them nice and active. Engaging through my quads even, and then lean into it. Just stretching out, get my inner thighs here. Right in the hips too, feeling that nice energy. One more breath. And then rise back up. Now I'm going to mirror you here. So go ahead and bend your right knee and take your right foot on the inside of your left inner thigh. And then lengthen up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our left hand over to our right knee, lift the right arm up, and draw yourself over so that you're reaching toward the toes and just letting yourself get that nice side body stretch. Again, really good for the hips. Nice lengthening in the side body. These tissues we don't tend to stretch often. They're really important to keeping us balanced. And one more breath. And lift up. And let's come to the other side. So right leg is long, left foot's tucked into the inner thigh. And we'll take our right hand on the left knee and lift up and drop over. That heaviness of that top arm really just helps you kind of settle into it, really nice and slow, easing into that stretch. And as I stay here, I can just feel my body kind of unwinding, and I just feel like I'm slightly going even deeper, willingly, like it's not a forced thing. One more breath. And lift up. Good, and then let's take our feet together in a butterfly pose. And so my soles of my feet are together. I've got my peace fingers, my index finger, my middle finger wrapped around my big toes. It's totally up to you if you want to do that. The closer my heels are to my groin, the hardest it's going to be. The farther away, the easier. I'm just going to sit nice and tall, and then I'm going to start to lean forward. That might be enough just to sit tall. But if you'd like, you can lean forward, and I like to take my elbows and press them against my inner thighs. Oh, it feels so good to open. Good, and then draw yourself up. And then from there, let's come laying down onto our backs here. And once you get there, take your feet together again, just like you just did. Only we're going to do this in a supine position, laying down on our backs. Feet together, knees wide. And then I often like to take a hand to my belly and a hand to my heart and just feel my breath. It really helps you be present when you feel your breath. And it shows you how full it is. Good. Couple more breaths. And last one. And then from there, I'm going to draw myself so that my knees come up. And then I'm going to take myself into a twist. So my right knee is going to draw in toward the right side of my body, and I'm going to extend my left leg long. And then from there, I'm going to draw my right leg over, crossing it over my body, as I keep my right arm out and my shoulder planted on my right side. Now I'm too close to my wall here, but if you have space, maybe you straighten that leg. So I'm going to just shift a little bit so I can do this with you. So when you pull yourself over, you can stay right there, or you can lengthen that leg out and press through the heel. This can be a nice one if you have a yoga strap, or you can take the strap to the foot and then open up that way. I'm gently resting my left hand on my right leg, not pushing down on it. It's just a resting point, and I'm trying to keep my right shoulder down. Nice IT band stretch. One more breath. And then come back to center. Now let's hug both knees in. I'm going to scoot back so I'm on the middle of my mat. Squeeze them in tight. And then extend your right leg long. Hug your left knee in toward the left side of your body. And when you're ready, cross it over. And now I'm focused on, first, before I do anything more, before I find my deepest twist, keeping my left shoulder down. And my gaze can be up, or I can gaze over my left shoulder. From there, I might straighten my leg. One more breath. And then back to center. Feels so good. All right, knees together, draw them in again, reset that low back. And then one last pose before our Shavasana. Knees toward your shoulders for happy baby, capture your feet. Draw down through each vertebra, draw down through the shoulders, press up through the feet into the hands.
Now this is an option to stay right here. You can even rock a little bit side to side. That can feel really nice on the spine. You might also choose to take your peace fingers around your big toes and then extend them. And we've done a few poses that'll help you find that. Sometimes when I try to do this in a class when I've not done too much with my inner thighs, it's a lot. But today it feels pretty easy. So I'm going to just kind of rock gently here too and just allow that kind of feeling to kind of move through me. One more nice big breath. And then bending the knees. Tuck yourself into a nice little ball one more time. This time maybe you're lifting the forehead up toward the knees. And extending out. We're coming into our final Shavasana. I'm going to do a nice big full body stretch first. Reaching my palms back, my toes forward. And then from there, I'm going to rest my arms nice and heavy right by my sides. Just allowing my body to kind of sink in here. I recommend, using whatever time you have to rest here for as long as you can. I'm gonna close us out, but feel free to stay here for as long as you'd like. When you're ready to come out, you'll just kind of draw your knees towards you, roll over onto a side, and come to seated. So as you continue to rest in Shavasana, or if you've chosen to come out with me, enjoy that. Enjoy the energy in your legs, and I hope that you find a little bit of relief if you've had some tightness there. Thank you, as always, so much for joining me. It is such a pleasure to be able to guide you through your practice, and it means a lot that you are sharing yours with me, even if it's virtual. The light in me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.